they're feeling squeezed. They're feeling a little bit of fear. They're feeling worry about the future. They can't find a home they can afford. They're struggling with the bills. Lots of Canadians can't afford medication. They can't get the dental care that they need. Young people are worried about a future where they feel like they might not have the same ability to live, to maybe even breathe the air the way their parents had. So young people are worried and afraid. And given all of this fear and worry and uncertainty in the future, and the pressure and the weight that people are feeling, young people who are feeling the crushing weight of student debt, with all these fears and worries, they look at the options. And they see Mr. Trudeau, who could find $14 billion for the richest corporations to buy corporate jets and limousines, but couldn't find the money to actually deliver universal pharmacare for all. And they see Mr. Scheer talking about tax cuts for the wealthiest, maybe a couple dollars for everyone else, but then massive cuts to services. And neither of them are going to make life better for the families that I speak to. Neither of them are going to work for people. They're working for the richest. And then I think about reconciliation and the fact that Mr. Trudeau worked hard to keep SNC-Lavalin out of court, but is dragging Indigenous kids to court. The fact that courts decided that Indigenous kids deserve equal funding, and Mr. Trudeau and his government said no. Well, I want you to know that we've got a number of commitments. And one of our commitments, if you elect New Democrats, we're going to fight for you. Our New Deal for People is a historic path to building a country where we put people at the heart of everything we do. And that means ensuring that reconciliation is honest and meaningful. And that means a New Democratic government would not drag Indigenous kids to court. We would ensure that Grassy Narrows has clean water. In fact, we would ensure that all boil water advisories were ended across Canada and that Indigenous communities get equal access to services. Now, I know there's going to be a tough choice to make in this election. I am running to be Prime Minister of this country because I want to make life better for people. I want to make sure people are at the heart of what we do. But no matter what happens in this election, I want to ensure that Canadians win. No matter what happens, Canadians have to win. And that's why I want to put forward our 6 priorities. 6 priorities that New Democrats will work hard for. And these are our urgent priorities. These are priorities that we understand need to happen right away. We cannot wait. We have no time to wait. People cannot afford to wait another 4 years or longer. We need to act immediately, and these are our 6 priorities that require urgent action. First off, we're going to ensure that we build and put in place a national pharmacare plan that's public, single-payer, and delivers medication for all. With our plan, you use your health card, not your credit card, to get the medication that you or your loved ones need. We also want to bring in place a national dental care program. Our dental care program is going to lift up over 4 million Canadians who don't have coverage right now with immediate coverage for their dental services. We're also going to make sure that people can have a home that they can afford. And that means making sure we've got the money to build 500,000 new affordable homes, but we also tackle the root cause of why housing is becoming so expensive. We're going to tackle speculation with a foreign buyer's tax, and we're going to make sure we go after money laundering with dedicated resources to tackle money laundering. For young people who graduate with massive debt, we need to immediately start working to alleviating that pressure. And so our first step is going to be to ensure that we waive all interest off of student debt. Instead of Liberals and Mr. Trudeau, who waived $6 billion in corporate loans, we are going to stand up for students and say students should not be profited off of. Their debt should not be profited off of. 4, we are going to work hard to make sure we have a bold plan on tackling the climate crisis. To those young people who have fear and despair in their eyes, I want to look them in their eyes and say we are going to fight with everything we have to make sure we build a plan that is bold, that is audacious, that is based on science and targets that are real and meaningful. We're going to end subsidies immediately on fossil fuel sectors, and we're going to help workers transition from fossil fuels. And 5, we're going to put in place a super wealth tax. We're going to work hard to make sure that the richest Canadians pay their fair share with a super wealth tax, a tax on those who have fortunes of over $20 million. And 6, to help out families that are struggling with the cost of cell phone and internet, we are going to put in place a price cap on cell phone and internet fees. Now, my friends, we're in that period of the election where there's going to be a lot of talk of fear. That fear talk is going to ramp up. You're going to hear Mr. Trudeau again and again repeat this message that you have to settle for less, that you have to be afraid of something coming and you have to vote out of fear. And I say to you, when you vote out of fear, you don't get what you want. When you settle for less, you don't get what you want. When you settle for less, you don't achieve amazing things. When you vote out of fear, you don't achieve things that are meaningful in your life. I want you to vote for hope. I want you to vote because you believe in something. I want you to vote for something. Don't vote against something. Vote for something you believe in. I want you to know you do not have to settle. If you vote enough New Democrats, we are going to fight for these things. If you vote enough of us, we're going to form government. But either way, I want to ensure Canadians know this. My goal is to make sure in this election, we cannot wait. And no matter what government you choose, I want Canadians to win. If you vote New Democrat, Canadians will win. We will fight for these 6 things and we will make them happen. Donc, mes amis, je sais que
So friends,
on a un choix à faire.
I know there's a
Et
choice
je
to be
veux vous
made,
donner des
and I
engagements, des
want
priorités
to
pour nous.
make some
On
commitments
va
and tell you what our
travailler
priorities
pour
are.
la réconciliation
We
honnête.
are going to work
On va
towards honest
s'assurer qu'on a de l'eau
reconciliation and
potable pour
ensure
toutes les
that
communautés
there is
autochtones.
clean drinking
Et
water in
on va
every Indigenous
s'assurer qu'on
community
ne poursuit
and
pas
ensure
des jeunes
that
autochtones dans les cours de
young
justice.
Indigenous people
Et
don't
on a
always
6
end up
engagements
before a
qu'on
court
veut
of
faire.
law. There are
6
6
engagements
commitments that we are
qui
making.
s'assurent que
Those
n'importe c'est quoi la
commitments will
décision
ensure
des
that
Canadiens et
whatever
Canadiennes,
decision Canadians make,
je veux devenir votre
I
Premier ministre,
want to
mais
become
n'importe
your
quoi
Prime Minister.
la résultat d'élection, je veux
But
s'assurer
whatever the
que
result
les
in this
Canadiens et
election,
Canadiennes gagnent.
I want
Donc, on a
Canadians
6
to win.
engagements.
So we have 6
Un,
commitments.
On va
1,
lutter très fort pour mettre
we
en
are
place
going
un
to
régime
fight very
d'assurance
hard
de médicaments
to
national,
introduce
public
a national,
et universel.
public,
On va
universal
aussi s'assurer
pharmacare
qu'on mette en
plan.
œuvre
We will
un
also
plan national pour les soins
introduce
dentaires.
a national dental care
Deuxièmement,
plan.
on va s'assurer que les gens ont
And
des
we want to
logements
ensure
que
that
les gens
people
peuvent se payer.
have homes that they can
Troisièmement,
afford.
on va mettre en
Third,
œuvre un plan
We're going
pour
to
lutter contre la
introduce
crise climatique
a
qui est
plan
audacieuse
to
et qui est
fight
forte.
climate change, which is
Quatrièmement,
bold and science-based.
Cinquièmement, on va s'assurer que les
5,
ultra-riches payent
we
leur
are going to
juste part.
ensure that the super rich
Aussi, on va
pay their
lutter
fair
contre
share.
l'endettement étudiant.
And
Et
we're going to
finalement,
fight
on va
student
limiter
debt
les prix des services
and
cellulaires.
limit
Et pour
the
s'assurer
price of
que
certain
ça
services,
ne
like
arrive
cell phone
jamais dans
services.
l'avenir, cette situation, on a
Now,
peur de ce qui va passer.
Of
On va
course,
mettre
some
en
people
œuvre
may be
la réforme
concerned
électorale.
about
Ça
what
veut
can
dire
happen
la
next. So
représentation
we will introduce
proportionnelle. And finally, my friends,
electoral
to make sure
reform and
that we
proportional
never are in this
representation.
position again, one of my commitments to you, if you vote New Democrat, we will ensure we truly bring in electoral reform, and that means proportional representation. These are my commitments to you so that Canadians win no matter what happens. But I am here for you. New Democrats work for you. We don't choose the wealthy and the powerful. We choose you. Thank you, my friends. I'm ready for any of your questions.
Ashley Burke, CBC News. You've already said that you wouldn't support the Conservatives, but if there was a Liberal minority, are these the terms under which you're willing to support another party like the Liberals?
I want to make it clear that no matter what Canadians choose, these are our commitments. These are what we're going to fight for. These are the things that people will know. If you vote New Democrat, if you get more New Democrats in place, these are our 6 urgent priorities that we're going to fight for immediately. We also want to make it clear that we want to ensure that people aren't in this position again in the future, where they have to worry about who they vote for. And that's why proportional representation is one of our key commitments. So people can know that this will never happen again if you vote New Democrat.
Sorry, that didn't really answer the question. Yes or no, if there was a Liberal minority, are these your terms to support the Liberals?
These are our terms of what we're going to fight for. These are our commitments and these are our priorities. So for any government that is formed, whatever Canadians choose, these are the 6 things that we're going to ask them to take very seriously. These are the 6 things that we're going to sit down and say, we need action on these 6 things. Otherwise, we're not going to be able to move ahead. we're going to demand action on these 6 things. So Canadians know, no matter what happens in this election, that they win, because with New Democrats, you get these 6 commitments that we are going to make sure we sit down with anyone and ensure that these are our priorities.
Jérôme Labbé, Radio-Canada.
Radio-Canada.
Que vous ayez la balance du pouvoir
If
ou
you
que
have the
vous
balance
deveniez
of
Premier
power,
ministre
or
le
were you to
21 octobre
become
au soir,
Prime Minister on
seriez-vous
October
prêt à faire partie
21st,
d'un gouvernement
would you
de
be
coalition,
prepared
donc
to be
de
part of
faire
a
une coalition avec
coalition
un autre
government? In other
parti,
words,
d'avoir
form a
donc
coalition
des
with another
ministres
party
NDP
and,
ou NPD au gouvernement, ou à
and
l'inverse, avec,
have
donc avec, par
NDP
exemple,
ministers
les
in
libéraux, le
government
Parti vert.
or Liberal or Green
Donc,
Party
ce qu'on propose
members
aujourd'hui,
as
ce
part
n'est
of
pas
your
un plan
cabinet?
comme ce que vous
Well,
avez
what
dit.
we're
C'est un
proposing
plan
today
de
is
dire
not what you just said.
nos 6
What we're
priorités, nos 6
presenting are our 6
pour n'importe
commitments,
quel
our
gouvernement
6
que les Canadiens
priorities
choisissent.
for whatever
Ce
government
sont
Canadians
les
choose.
priorités sur
These
lesquelles on va
are
dire
priorities
n'importe quel gouvernement
where we'll
que
say
ce sont
to
les
whatever
engagements.
government is in
Si vous
office,
avez
these
besoin
are
de
our
notre aide,
commitments.
ce
If you
sont les
need our
6,
help,
engagements
these
qu'on veut
are
faire.
our 6
Et en
commitments,
plus,
our
la
6 priorities,
réconciliation et la
including
représentation proportionnelle.
reconciliation and proportional
Pour le nombre de
representation.
priorités,
Now,
jusqu'à
given
maintenant,
the
lorsqu'on
number
vous posait la
of
question, il y en avait
priorities,
3. Là, ce matin, il y en a
before there were
6.
3, now there
Plus
are
les enjeux
6,
autochtones à travers ces 6-là.
including indigenous
Et en fait, dans le
reconciliation.
communiqué, il y en a 5, mais là, vous
No, in
divisez
the press release there are
l'assurance santé en
5,
2, puis
but
vous nous
you're
rajoutez ce matin le mode de
dividing
scrutin.
pharmacare
Alors,
in
vous en avez
2 and
combien
you're
de priorités?
adding
3, 4,
proportional
5, 6, 7.
representation. So how many are
Donc,
there
c'est
really?
6 priorités.
Well, there are 6
Mais
priorities,
avec la réconciliation,
but
c'est
with
quelque chose toujours,
reconciliation,
c'est un engagement.
I mean, that's
Et
an
pour
ongoing
s'assurer qu'on
commitment.
n'avait
And we
pas
want
cet
to
enjeu dans la
ensure, of
future,
course, that
on
the
a un
same
engagement de
situation
faire
does not recur.
la
We are
réforme
also
électorale
committing to bring
avec la
in
représentation proportionnelle.
proportional
Mais nos 6
representation,
engagements qu'on va
and our
faire tout de
6
suite sont les 6
commitments
qu'on-
that we
que
want to
j'ai,
act on right away are the
j'ai
ones that
décrits.
I already
Mr. Singh,
described.
Mike Lecouteur from Global National. The information that we're hearing is you are not doing well in Quebec, in danger of nearly getting wiped off the map there with the Bloc emerging. Because of all this, will you finally focus your attack on the Bloc Québécois tonight?
Well, I want to make it really clear. We're seeing a lot of excitement, a lot of engagement across Canada. Our campaign is gaining amazing momentum. I'm really excited about that. In Quebec as well, we've got a strong team that's working really hard. In this election or this debate tonight, I'm going to make sure Canadians have a choice. And right now, they've got a government that hasn't chosen them, a government that's chosen the rich and powerful. And my focus is going to be on the government. It's going to be on the government that's been in government for the past 4 years, which is Mr. Trudeau and the Liberals. Donc, pour les, on a beaucoup de momentum, on est tellement
No, we have a
fiers de
lot
ce
of
qu'on a,
momentum,
on a
and we're
créé
very
comme
proud
momentum
of
avec
the kind of
beaucoup de gens
momentum
qui
we've
nous
created with a
appuyaient.
lot of people
C'est
who are
tellement
supporting
excitant
us.
ce que se
It's
passe,
really exciting what's
ici,
happening now.
En Ontario,
Here
au
in
Canada,
Ontario,
au
in
Québec,
Canada, in
il y a
Quebec,
beaucoup de momentum.
There's a great deal
Et
of momentum.
qui je vais cibler dans le
And
débat,
who
ça,
am
c'est
I
le
going to
gouvernement
target?
qui a
Well, it'll
choisi
be the
d'aider
government that
les
has
plus
decided
riches au lieu
to
des
help
gens
the
depuis les
wealthiest
4 années.
rather
Donc, je vais
than
cibler,
people
je
who
vais
need
continuer
help.
de cibler M.
And
Trudeau
so I
et les
will
libéraux.
continue to target Mr. Trudeau and
But
the Liberals.
just more specifically, in Quebec, you could be losing to the Bloc Québécois here who are emerging. So why not focus on Yves-François Blanchet in tonight's French debate?
So I'm going to be focusing on the government that's made choices for the past 4 years. I absolutely will make the contrast that between the Bloc and I, we're the ones that can actually work with the rest of Canada. We can work together to deliver programs like universal pharmacare. We can work together with Canada to deliver things like a national dental care program. These are things that we can do that the Bloc can't do. So that contrast is clear, and we're going to make that contrast clear. But my target is going to be Mr. Trudeau, who's been in power, who's made choices that have made it harder for families, choices that have prioritized the rich to the detriment and to the pain of families.
Hi, Mr. Singh. It's Annie Bergeron-Oliver with CTV National News. You say you're running a national campaign, but you still haven't been to PEI, Newfoundland, and Alberta, and you've only made very brief appearances in Manitoba, Saskatchewan, New Brunswick, and Nova Scotia. What do you say to Canadians who are questioning why you haven't been there and haven't been visiting them?
Well, it's a big country, and we're doing our best to get around all the beautiful parts of this country. And it is large, so it's hard to get everywhere, but we're proud of the work we're doing. And no matter where you live, whether you live in PEI or Newfoundland, I want folks to know in Canada, with our commitment, it's clear. We don't work for the rich or the powerful. We work for you. Our plan to take on Universal or to take on the big pharmacare or big pharmaceutical and the big insurance lobbyists is because we're ready to take them on and fight for you. Whereas we've seen Mr. Trudeau cave to them, meet with pharmaceuticals 875 times. So no matter where he goes, he can go everywhere across Canada, but he's still working for the rich. He can go everywhere across the Atlantic, and it still shows that people who want health care are not going to get that with Mr. Trudeau, who'd rather cave into the pharmaceuticals or to the insurance lobbyists rather than deliver universal pharmacare. He hasn't committed to it. We've committed to it. We understand that means taking on the big pharma and the big lobbyists. We're ready to do that.
But if you look at the Conservatives and the Liberals, they've crisscrossed the country, visiting every province at least twice, if not more. And so there are people who are questioning whether they're a priority to your government because you haven't been there. What do you say to them? How do you explain why you have not spent more time in places like Manitoba, for example?
Well, I say to them, Conservatives aren't going to make your life any better. They're going to talk to you. They might show up in your province, but they're going to cut the services that you depend on. And that's exactly what they do. And people know that. In Manitoba, they felt the cuts of Pallister and how much it hurts. They know that they cut healthcare and the things that people need. And Mr. Scheer is going to do the same thing. So I would say to the people across this country that Conservatives might show up, but they're going to cut your services. Liberals might show up, but they've chosen to help out the powerful pharmaceutical companies and the insurance companies and the big telecom companies rather than bringing in place universal pharmacare or lowering the cost of your cell phone bills. They've chosen the rich. We choose you.
Good morning, Mr. Singh. I am Charlie Pinkerton from iPolitics. Thanks for doing this morning.
Of course.
So you've outlined some issue areas here, but I'm hoping you can talk more about specific policies that might be a make or break it for the NDP in joining a potential coalition. Are there anything that you've talked about today or anything else that the NDP would walk away from the table and refuse to form a coalition with another party?
Well, what I want to lay out is what Canadians can expect from us. If they vote for New Democrats, these are things that we're going to fight for right away. So these are things that we're going to sit down with anyone and say, you've got to take these seriously. We need action on these things. Otherwise, you're not going to have our support. And so these are the things that Canadians can count on. They can know that we're going to fight to bring in place universal pharmacare, a national dental care program, money for housing, tackling speculation and money laundering. They're going to know that we're going to make sure that there's a price cap on your cell phone bills, that we're going to take interest off of student debt right away, that we're going to make sure that Indigenous communities are treated with respect and that true reconciliation happens. And we're going to make sure that when it comes to the climate crisis, we've got a real and bold plan to tackle the crisis. These are the things we're going to sit down with anyone and say, this is what we need, and we need action on this.
But on that same note, Elizabeth May has said, for example, that she wouldn't partner with anyone who doesn't take climate seriously. So is there one area or one specific policy, perhaps, that the NDP would insist be pushed forward for a government that you're partnered with?
Well, that's a great difference. That's a great contrast. For us, we can't choose between one or the other. We believe that having healthcare is so important that we can't negotiate that. We're not willing to compromise that. Ms. May is willing to compromise that. That's really the big difference. We're not going to compromise that. We've got our 6 commitments, and we know that these are things that Canadians need urgently, and that's what we're going to make sure that people, whoever wants to sit down with us, has to take very seriously and actually deliver action on these things before we can move forward.
Bonjour, Catherine Lévesque, La Presse canadienne. Vous avez dit un peu plus tôt en anglais
You
que
said
le
a little
Bloc et
earlier in
vous
English
alliez
that you
travailler
and the
ensemble. Je me
Bloc
demandais
would
si
work
vous
together.
pouviez élaborer
Perhaps
sur
you could
les
elaborate
rôles que vous voyez
on
dans
the
un
role
prochain
that
Parlement
you
entre le
see
Bloc et
yourself playing in the next
c'était pas
Parlement.
ce que j'ai dit.
No, that is not what
J'ai
I
dit
said.
que,
I
on
said
peut travailler
that
avec
we
le
can
Québec
work with
et le
Quebec
reste du Canada.
and the
Et
rest
ça,
of
c'est le
Canada.
contraste avec nous et
And
le
that's the
Bloc. Le fait que
contrast
le
between
Bloc
us and the
ne
Bloc.
peut pas
The
et ne
Bloc
veut pas travailler
cannot
avec les
and
autres.
will not work with
On
others.
peut travailler
We
avec
can
les progressistes
with
du Québec et les
progressives in
progressistes
Quebec
du
and
Canada.
progressives in the
Donc,
rest
ce
of Canada.
contraste est clair.
So that
Donc, la
contrast
question,
between us
c'était,
is clear.
pourquoi
The
vous ne
question
ciblez
was,
pas les
why
blocs
don't
dans les
you
débats? J'ai dit
target
que
the
la
Bloc in the
contraste
next
est
debate?
clair.
And I
Je
said,
vais
well, the
cibler le
contrast is
gouvernement
clear. I'm
libéraux
going to
parce qu'ils
target
étaient
the
le gouvernement
Liberals and the
depuis
Liberal
4 ans.
government because
On a
they've been
eu,
in power for
toutes
4
les
years.
décisions
We
où ils
saw
ont
all
choisi
the
les plus riches au
decisions
lieu des gens.
they made where
Et
they
pour les blocs,
chose
la
the
contraste est
wealthiest.
clair.
And
Nous
with
sommes
the
le
Bloc,
parti qui
it's
peut
clear.
travailler
We
avec
are
les
the
autres.
party that can work with
On comprend que
others.
vous allez les ignorer, mais je
I
voulais quand même avoir votre
understand you're going to
réaction. Ce matin,
ignore
le Journal
them,
de
but
Montréal nous apprenait
the
qu'il y a
Journal de
4
Montréal
candidats
said
qui
that
ont
there are
tenu
4
des propos
candidates
racistes,
who have
islamophobes,
made
qui ont partagé notamment des vidéos, des
xenophobic or
articles qui disent que
racist
l'islam est une
comments
maladie,
saying that
des messages
Islam
de
is
soutien à
a
Marine Le Pen,
disease.
ils disent que l'islam
They
peut
support
conquérir
Marie
le
Le
monde. Je me demandais
Pen,
si vous
and I'm
aviez
just
une
wondering
réaction
whether
face
you
à
have any
ces
reaction to those
candidatures là, qui sont
comments.
toujours présentes au sein du Bloc québécois.
There are still those
c'est dommage,
sentiments
et
in the
c'est
Bloc
tellement
québécois.
troublant
Well, I
que les
think
gens
that's very
qui
sad and
inflamment
troubling.
l'attention, inflamment
People
la
are
haine contre une
inflaming
communauté. Je
tensions
sais que la
within
haine,
the community,
ce n'est pas
and I
quelque
know
chose
that
qui
hate
est,
is not something.
si ça existe,
if it
ça va
exists,
continuer et d'augmenter et d'accroître
it
et ça va toucher
will
toutes les
continue to
communautés.
increase
Donc, le
and end up
concept de haine
affecting
ne peut
all
être
communities.
isolé.
So
Donc, si
hate
on
is
a
not
la
something
haine contre une
isolated.
communauté,
If you hate a
ça peut
particular
accroître et
community,
devenir la haine
that
contre les
can
autres à cause de leur couleur de la peau.
increase and
Ça peut
lead to hate
augmenter
against
jusqu'à
people
niveau
because of the
d'être
color of their
la haine
skin,
contre les gens à cause de leur sexualité.
and people
Donc,
will
la
be
haine
pitted one
est
against
quelque
the other
chose qu'il
because of
faut
their sexuality.
dénoncer
So
où
this
il
is
est,
something
et
we
c'est
have
une
to
décision
call out
pour
and
le Bloc de
denounce,
faire
and
ce
this
qu'ils
is
veulent.
a
Mais pour
decision
moi,
for the
je
bloc to
dis
do what
que
it feels
dans
is
mon
best, but I
parti,
can
ce
tell
n'est
you
pas
that in my
acceptable pas
party,
du tout
it
d'avoir
is
quelqu'un
not
comme ça.
acceptable to have candidates like that.
Sure. I find that those comments are saddening. They're hurtful. We know that hate is not something that's limited. Hate can spread. And once you allow hate to grow, it will consume everything. And once someone can hate someone based on their beliefs, it can grow to continue to expand to hate based on someone's color of skin, hate based on someone's sexuality or gender. We need to denounce all forms of hate wherever they are. And it's pretty clear, I shouldn't need to say this, but no one would be able to have those type of values and stay a member of my party. But the Bloc has to make that decision. But for me, this is exactly why we need to denounce hate, because hate is something that it spreads like fire and consumes everything.
Oh, hi, sir. Jordan Press with the Canadian Press. I wanted to ask you just about the proportional representation.
Sure.
Is that a make or break thing for you in the context of working with other parties?
Yeah, this is something that's a priority for me. It's one of our commitments in our commitment document. We put this out months ago. And for me, it's really about giving power back to people and making sure that every vote counts. And Canadians should not have to be in this position where Mr. Trudeau is telling them to vote out of fear, to settle for less, to say, okay, we may not be perfect, we might have broken our commitments on things, but vote for us anyways because you're afraid of another party. I want to end that once and for all. And so I want to say to Canadians, with a new Democrat government, with more new Democrats in place, we can deliver that.
So just as a follow-up then,
Yeah.
just as a follow-up, so if that is a make or break thing for you and working with any party in the next parliament, then how do you go about doing it at a time when really maybe this isn't top of mind for voters?
Well, that's why our 6 commitments are the urgent things that we need to fix right away. Our 6 commitments were the ones I listed around housing and healthcare and student debt and the cost of living and making sure we tackle the climate crisis. Those are our 6 commitments to Canadians. Just to ensure that this doesn't happen in the future, we believe that we need to have proportional representation. But our 6 commitments are the ones we're focused on because those are the ones that are top of mind. But I also want Canadians to know with the new Democratic government, we're going to ensure that this doesn't happen again.
Would you be open to a coalition government?
So what I'm laying out today is not that. What I'm laying out today are key areas that we want to work on, and that what Canadians should know if they vote for New Democrats, when they're talking about this talking about who they vote for during the Thanksgiving weekend, these are the things that they should know, that if you vote New Democrat, you'll get someone who's going to fight for these things, who's going to deliver these things, and you're going to get these 6 commitments achieved with a New Democratic MP and a New Democratic government.
These 6 priorities, is a lot of your platform condensed under this. Are you saying that you would only support a party if they would take action on all 6 of them, or it would be one by one, issue by issue?
What we would do is this. We've told Canadians we're going to work on all of our platform commitments. Those are things that are important to us. But there are 6 urgent things that we've heard from Canadians that need to happen and that are achievable, that we can do right away. And so these 6 things we want to say to Canadians, if you vote for us, we're going to sit down with anyone that, whatever the government that Canadians choose, and we're going to say, these are our 6 things that we need urgent action on and we need real commitments on. We need you to take these things seriously. And if we don't have urgent action, we don't have real commitments on these things, then we won't be able to move forward with. Thank you very much. Appreciate it all. Thank you.